Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another reading stream. I am the Takonome, and these are my humble channels, which are my Twitch and YouTube channels. For long-time listeners to the stream, you may have noticed that I forgot my intro, but nevertheless, how is everyone doing today? Hope that you're having a good day so far, a good week, and if that has not been the case for you, maybe this reading stream could be a bit of a bright spot to your day. For us Americans, we just had a 4th of July weekend. I hope that you are all safe. Did not accidentally blow off any finger bits or whatnot with fireworks. Let's see here. It has been a while since we've done a reading stream. I hope that I do remember how to do this, but tonight we are reading Clockwork Twist, Book 10, Time, by Emily Thompson. Forgive me, everyone. My speaking pattern seems to be a little off, and I'm going to explain why soon enough. But before we talk about my issues for the evening, let's instead talk about the author of this wonderful book in the series. Emily Thompson is a non binary author and artist originally from Northern California. Although they adore steampunk and all things Victoriana, they also write science fiction and fantasy. After studying film and animation in university, Emily changed to a Japanese language focus and studied in Tokyo. After receiving a language degree and spending a number of years abroad, they now live in Washington and spend most of their free time writing in coffee shops, painting, crocheting plushies, coding, and playing lots of cozy video games. That is our author for the evening, also a personal friend of mine as well. I do not talk about it much on stream, but I actually do know the author of this series. We actually attended the same classes in Japan. So there's a little bit of lore back there for anyone who may have been interested. Now, as far as why I am sincerely wondering, seriously wondering, hmm, seriously wondering if my speaking abilities would be up to par tonight, well, to be honest, I'm still a little tired, but we're going to persevere anyway. Also, for the past 3, 4 hours, I guess. I think that's how long it was. I have been going through edits of Book 2, The Foreigners, in my own series. Not only going through some of the edits of Book 2, I've also tried to outline more of Book 3, which title still pending. Well, actually, I think the title, wow. I think the title may be The Immigrants, but I'm uncertain at the moment. That can change, but for the moment, Book 3 is the working title is The Immigrants. I'm hoping that it will be as wonderful, or I don't know, wonderful is the right word, but I'm hoping it'll be as good as Book 2, The Foreigners. Nevertheless, Book 2 is going through perhaps the toughest round of edits for me, but we're getting there. We are slowly but surely getting there. As far as news for these channels, well, typically second Sunday, now it's the second Sunday, would normally take off from the reading stream, but seeing that we have not had a reading stream for the past 2, 3 weeks or so, I think it would be good to try to have the reading stream next Sunday. So that is the plan, unless something comes up and I'm just not able to do the reading stream. However, I do not foresee that happening, fingers crossed. There's a chance that we will not have reading stream at the end of the month, the final Sunday, but we will come to that decision as plans form. As far as other news goes, I actually do not have much other news to share, except that I cannot speak English today, but fortunately, we are reading English, and I believe my reading skills are better than my speaking skills at the moment. I'm not sure why my English is not working too well today. And it's my first language. I don't know why I'm having a hard time. Well, editing. I'll take editing. But before we start tonight's reading, there is something I have been trying to do since we started this book, which is give a recap of everything that happened last time. So, before we read, allow me the opportunity to read this nice little recap here. For most of his life, Twist was alone. His sight, his special ability, allowed him to see how something is broken when he makes physical contact with it. This includes dramatic experiences of other people. He had resigned himself to solitude in his little London clock shop. His world changed when a young woman entered his shop and enlisted his help to mend the mythical Clockwork Princess. Since then, he had traveled around the world and encountered all manners of strange and mythical beings with a dashing pirate and the Clockwork Princess by his side. It is not all fun and games. There are powerful forces searching for him and his pirate friend. Many attempts have been made on their lives. Nevertheless, they have persevered, and Twist's bonds with his companions only grow stronger. Now in London, Twist and his new chosen family explore the back alleys of Twist's old stomping grounds. Twist relived memories from his orphanage days, pointing out shops such as the old bookshop and the florist. The orphanage stood still, ominous and imposing as before. Needing a break, the trio found a small cafe 2 blocks from the orphanage. It was here Twist finally met his father for the first time and learned his true name. And that is where we are in the series and in this book. Speaking of the author from earlier, author wrote, maybe English is too familiar to you, and that's why it's hard today. Maybe I could be overthinking what is the proper way to convey ideas or thoughts or so forth, because as well, as you know, that is very important when you're trying to write a story for people to read. You want to make sure what you're seeing in your head is translated over for the reader in a non confusing manner. And I will admit, for me personally, that is rather difficult to do. I do my best. And this is why I'm so happy to have editors, because they will catch things that I do not catch. For me, it makes perfect sense, especially since you know, as an author, you know the story, you know what's going to happen, you know what's going on in people's minds. And then you have to remember, but the reader does not. Or the reader does not know what the scenery looked like. And you have to actually explain what the scenery is in better detail. Those are some of the things I struggle with personally as an author. But we're working on it. We are working on it. Let's see here. We have our water ready to go, as well as, of course, our tea, which I am trying a new tea tonight. And it smells really nice. To me, I think it smells great. And, well, my sparkly friend would be proud of this one. It is sparkling. My tea is sparkling. Literally. Not figurative, not a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not extravagant. It begins with the letter E. I'm not grandizing the situation. I forgot the word I'm looking for. Exaggerating. There we go. Wow. My English. Well, we're going to do the best we can today. But I am not exaggerating when I say that my tea is sparkling. But That's not why we're here. We're here to listen to a story. So, Clockwork Twist, Book 10, Time by Emily Thompson. We are currently on page 48 of this book. Wish me the best of luck here, and let's begin. And I've already encountered a problem. Apologies, everyone. I forgot how this character sounds. Well, his voice is going to be workshop in progress. Let's begin. Page 48, Book 10. But I had to understand, Miguel said, now that things had slightly calmed down. He sat still at a separate table from Twist and his friends at the silly little street cafe, but his natural coloring had returned and his eyes were no longer damp. How did you know who I was? Jonas sees the future sometimes, Twist answered, wishing his cure was stronger. It was already half gone, and not nearly as strong as he would have liked it to be. He saw me say hello to you, right here at this cafe, and call you father. You see the future? Miguel asked Jonas, somehow still able to be surprised. Jonas shrugged, keeping his eyes well clear of the other man's. I see a lot of things. My sight is just as strong as his. Twist grimaced, realizing that he just shared something Jonas might not have liked him to. The buzzing at Twist's neck was still purring strong, steady, and calm, pouring subtle comfort into his own spirit thanks to Jonas's effort. But even so, Twist's mind was struggling under the weight of all of these revelations and unexpected turns. You have a you have a sight? Miguel asked Jonas, suspicion now in his voice. And is overly strong? Then are you the other half? You know, Jonas said, looking to Twist with a sour expression. I really don't like that title. It makes me feel like you're a plucky sidekick. Twist snickered. At least no one's insulting your mother, always calling you the son of a witch. Hey, my grandmother's a witch, Jonas snapped back at him. There's nothing wrong with witches. She was my grandmother before you even met her, Twist countered. And I still don't like to hear either of them called witches. You really need to get over that, Tristan, Jonas said on a sigh. Twist shuddered as if a cold, slimy lizard had just scampered down his back. Bloody hell, I'm not ready for you to call me that. Miguel looked to Mira. Do they really do that a lot? All the time, I'm afraid, Mira replied gently. Twist silently chided himself for falling into yet another pleasing battle with Jonas. He seemed to be letting his friend distract him very frequently, probably because doing so was vastly more comfortable than speaking to his father. Although typically he might have dragged Mira into their battle after her comment, Jonas fell quiet instead, offering no retort. So, you found each other after all, Miguel said when they both remained quiet for a moment. How in the world did you do that? Twist frowned, finding it difficult to come up with a quick answer. It's a rather long story, actually, but it was basically just luck, I believe. Jonas nodded. Look? Miguel asked. No, I doubt it was that. There are very powerful forces around you both. Even if it might have seemed like an accident, you two were destined to find each other. I'm glad you both are safe after all that's happened. Twist gave an unhappy huff. First, I'm told I'm related to a great clockmaker, and now I'm destined to have met you. I don't know, Jonas. I feel like I'm losing control over my life by the minute. Next, I'll find out I was betrothed to Mira at birth. Mira frowned at Twist worriedly, while Jonas failed to join in. Miguel only watched him and sat in quiet. Twist glanced at Jonas and Mira, finding surprise in their eyes. He gave a sigh, realizing that they were quite right. His tongue was running away with him, and that last comment had come out a lot sharper than he actually wanted it to. I'm sorry, he said to his father. I've had a rather long night and a considerable variety of wines. I'm not myself. Of course, Miguel replied, nodding. I'm sure meeting me is quite a shock in itself. So, are you just visiting London then? Twist asked, trying to find an easier avenue of conversation. Miguel jerked as if he'd been bitten, swiftly snatching a brass watch from his own pocket. Twist noticed instantly that it was more modern design than his own, larger and coverless as well. His father read the time and let out a relieved breath. I can't believe I almost forgot. There's not much time. Miguel plucked his notebook from the table and hurriedly flipped to a page. I have something to see. I have to see something in exactly 12 minutes and 44 seconds. I see, Twist said, confused by this oddly severe punctuality. And where must you be? Should you be getting on your way? It's not far, he said, offering a smile as apology. Actually, yes, he muttered, clearly working through a rather complex thought as he spoke. He looked back to Twist, having apparently decided. I think you should come with me if you see why I come back to London and might help you to understand, and with your skills with clockwork, you just might be able to help me as well. All right, Twist said, somewhat thrown by this. He turned to Mira. Darling, would you mind taking care of our tab here? Right away, Mira said, already getting to her feet. I'll just be a moment. Don't leave without me, she added over her shoulder as she hurried into the interior of the cafe. Twist and Jonas knocked back what was left of the cures and then stood. Twist's father was standing now too, reading over the page in his notebook. Twist glanced to the page but saw that it was filled with nothing but very advanced and confusing mathematical equations that made no sense at all to him. Twist would have asked about this, but Mira quickly returned, announcing that all was well, and Miguel led them out into the street. As the drizzle was still falling, Mira opened her umbrella again and took Twist's arm, as always, and they followed Twist's father. Neither Miguel nor Jonas seemed to even notice the soft rain. By the light of the overcast sky, Twist guessed it must be nearly 5 or 6 in the morning. The fact that he hadn't slept the night before began to weigh on him now that he was seeing another day begin around him. Distracted as he was, Twist was surprised to find that his father had stopped before the imposing faux Gothic facade of an old church. Even if these fake cathedrals, sturdy temples of stone, stained glass, and sometimes even the gargoyles of the ancient style of true cathedrals, but built by British men in just the last 100 years or so, could be found tucked away all over London, the look of this one still made Twist smirk. The ordinary looking terrace houses on either side of this church ended abruptly, with no alley between them, and surrounded the tall, ornate stone and dim glass facade of the church looked like books on a shelf. The rest of the church was hidden from the street, probably in a large back garden, but from here, all Twist could see was a full wall of colored glass, nearly black but struggling to reflect the new dawn of this time of the morning, set into a Gothic style frame of stone 3 stories high and topped with a cross. Below the stained glass, there was only a small wooden door to one side, a few stone steps before it, a patch of grass and lots of well tended flowers, and a low stone wall around the tiny front garden. Twist's father urged them all to step into the garden, but then he stopped, just before the steps that led up to the closed wooden door, and stared at his watch as if it were of enormous importance. Twist, Jonas, and Mira stood still and silent, glancing to each other for explanation. Should we knock? Jonas offered after a moment. What? Miguel asked, only glancing away from his watch for the merest instant. Why we're standing about outside a church? Twist asked gently. Would you like to go inside? No, no, Miguel muttered, the watch still absorbing most of his concentration. Just wait, you'll see. In 5, 4, 3. Unsure of what he was waiting for, Twist looked to Jonas, who only gave him a shrug in response. The instant after his father counted to 1, there was a sudden gust of air from the stoop and the sound of a lightning strike, though there was no storm in the sky. Instead, a figure appeared suddenly out of thin air from a point about a foot off the ground and fell into the short flight of stone steps with a startled cry and then a thud. What the hell? Demanded the figure with a clearly American accent. Twist stared at the young man who had just materialized out of the air and was looking about himself in shock. He seemed to be no older than 20, if not a bit younger, and wore a very strange looking sort of one piece suit of dull green cloth that covered him from neck to ankles. His boots were very round, as if made entirely of rubber, and a hat seemed to have fallen off his head in the fall. His black hair was thick and cut short to his scalp, and while his complexion struck Twist instantly as African, his features seemed rather sharp and angular, giving the young man a fascinating appearance. Say, what gives? He demanded of the world, getting to his feet and snatching up his hat. He looked directly to Miguel with a frown, putting the odd-looking, pointy and wide-brimmed hat onto his head at a decidedly off angle. Okay, buddy, where the hell am I? Because I was flying off the coast of Miami just 2 seconds ago. Who are you? Miguel asked him back, appearing just as confused and frustrated as the American. He looked to the ground at the young man's feet. Where is it? Where's what? The American asked back, looking down too. Wait, where the hell is my damn plane? Don't tell me it's still flying over the Atlantic because I'm the pilot, he added, growing more agitated. I don't understand, Miguel said, pulling out his notebook again. It should have appeared, not some random person. You don't understand, the American asked back. He then paused, having caught sight of Mira as she, Twist, and Jonas all watched him in obvious confusion. Is that a robot lady? Wait a minute, he said, putting both hands out as if to stop the world. I'm dreaming. That's gotta be it. Yeah, I fell asleep at the stick and now the plane is going down because the pilot's asleep. I'm gonna die. Wake up, Robin, wake up! He shouted, slapping at his own face. Stop that! Twist snapped at him. You'll wake the whole city. That's the idea, Robin shouted back, clearly hysterical. Be quiet or I shall call the police, a voice shouted from one of the nearby windows, followed by an angry slam of a window. Be still, Miguel said to Robin in an urgent, forceful voice. I don't have time to be arresting or for nothing. Apologies. I don't have time to be arrested for nothing. No one is in danger of anything, and you're not asleep. The pocket watch was supposed to appear right here, right now, not you. A pocket watch? Robin asked, frowning back at him. All right, what's going on? Jonas asked. Where did this person come from? I don't know, Miguel said, poring over his notebook again. The watch was supposed to come from the year 1946. I don't understand, he added, clearly beginning to panic. Wait, what? Twist asked, feeling utterly lost. Look, buddy, Robin said to Miguel, pulling his attention from the notebook. You look like a swell guy, and you seem pretty upset. If I show you my pocket watch, will you calm down and tell me what the hell's going on? Wait, you have a pocket watch with you? Miguel asked. Sure, here, see? Robin said, unfastening the front of his suit by pulling on a tab that hung at his throat. He seemed to be wearing another suit underneath, and he reached into a hidden pocket to pull out a brass pocket watch and chain. The instant Twist saw it, he shivered. The chain was different, but the watch itself looked exactly like his own, in every detail. As it hung in the air from Robin's grip on its chain, it turned gently to show his back. The engraving was there as well, albeit slightly more worn than the one on Twist's watch. Surprised by what he saw, Twist reached for his own watch, but found it still in place. Miguel, meanwhile, seemed immensely relieved to see the one Robin held. There. You feel better now, Mac? Robin asked with a placating grin. Now, can you tell me what the hell is going on? Where am I? And where's my P-51? I'm sorry, Miguel said, seeming to calm now. I don't know why, but you followed that watch through time. Only meant to pull it here from the future, but now you've come along with it. That's never happened before. His words drifted off as he fell into sudden and deep contemplation. Twist glanced to Jonas, but judging by his expression, he was just as confused and concerned by what Miguel had said as Twist was himself. Was the man mad? Surely time travel was a thing of fiction. Mira's emotions felt equally confused as well, seeping into Twist's sight through the light grip on his arm, and when he looked to her, he found a fearful look on her face. Robin stared back at Miguel for a moment in thoughtful silence. Fine, don't be helpful, he grumbled finally, stuffing the watch back into his pocket. I've got to go find a phone, he added, moving around them and down the street. Wait, I need that watch, Miguel called after him, but the American was already moving fast. Here we're going to take a quick chapter break. And also a greeting to, hopefully I'm pronouncing this correctly, Melly Era. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, Melly. How are you doing today? Hope that you are having a good day today, and of course, if not, well, maybe not of course, but if not, then hopefully this reading stream could be a bit of a bright spot for your day. And we're going to try a sip of our tea here. It is very sparkly. Normally, I do not go for sparkly tea, but I made an exception for this one. Mm. Mm. It lives up to the name of the tea. Ooh, I may have made this one a bit strong. Still good, but I may have made this a little too strong. As for the name of the tea, well, I will be telling you that after another chapter or two. After all, we have to follow the format. Before we continue, I want to take the time to thank you all for joining this reading stream. Whether you're here live on Twitch or YouTube or you're listening to one of the VODs, hope that you are enjoying the story so far as well as the reading of the story. Apologies to anyone who may be thinking, wait a minute, Takanome does not do accents very well. You are correct. I do not do accents very well, but we still do our best nevertheless. I definitely had troubles with Mira with her first line or two, but I think I have my Mira back. I believe we are ready to continue the story. Little stretch here. All right. With that, let's go into our next chapter. Oh, that's who's speaking. All right. No, Mac, the phone. The blower. You know, a telephone. I need to make a call, you big baluka. Robin was saying to a man who had just opened his bakery when Twist and the others caught up to him. The baker was staring back at the American with a frown, shaking his head, while Robin leaned over the empty pastry case to speak to him, gesturing with both hands. Come on! You gotta have a phone, Robin went on. What kind of business doesn't have a phone? Sir? The baker grumbled. I haven't a clue what you're on about. Then where's the nearest payphone? Robin called after him as the baker disappeared into the back of the shop. Oh no, not you guys again, he grumbled, seeing Twist and the others now behind him in the shop. Look, either help me find a telephone or leave me the hell alone, okay? I've got to find out what happened to my plane. Mira, you speak every language, Jonah says, suddenly turning to her. Do you know what he's talking about? No idea, I'm afraid, she said softly. I thought robots were supposed to be smart, Robin grumbled. Mira looked back at him, clearly offended. I'm no one's slave. Say what now? Robin balked. So, please, Miguel said to Robin, speaking gently now. I need your pocket watch. Tough luck, buddy, Robin snapped back at him. Get your own. I'm too busy trying to either wake the hell up or find my damn plane. Please, the baker snapped, having returned with a tray of pastries to place in his case. I'm afraid I shall have to ask you either to buy something or leave. Please stop shouting. You, sir, Robin snapped, pointing a finger at the baker, are not helping. Without another word, Robin barged out of the bakery and onto the street again. Miguel grumbled something under his breath in Spanish that made Mira gasp in shock and Jonas snigger, and they all hurried out in pursuit of the American once again. With the morning moving right along, a light crowd of delivery trucks, working men in and out of uniform and other sundry city dwellers, had begun to appear on the streets. Robin stood in the middle of the street outside, peering down the length of it. Okay, he said, frowning, when Miguel and the others approached him. Why is everyone dressed goofy? I mean, sure, you guys could be coming from a party or something, but why is everyone else dressed like something out of the Victorian era? This is Queen Victoria's London, Miguel said with strained patience. You've fallen 67 years and 6 months into the past. Robin narrowed his eyes at him. Wait, are you being serious? Because you sound awfully screwy. Yes, I'm being completely serious, Miguel said firmly. This is the year 1879. I've built a time travel device and used it to pull that pocket watch through time from our future. I don't know how, but somehow you have followed it here to your past. Right, Robin said, his expression now one of alarm more than derision. You, he said suddenly, pointing to Jonas, name any movie starring Humphrey Bogart. What's a movie? Jonas asked back. How about you? Robin asked, looking to Twist. Louis Armstrong, trumpet player, or bricklayer? Well, Twist said, struggling to guess at the right answer, even though the name was wholly foreign to him. If the gentleman is known for strong arms, I say bricklayer. You guys are yanking my chain, Robin affirmed, looking frightened now. You're in the past, Miguel said yet again. How about a newspaper? Robin asked, snapping his fingers as the idea came to him. You people of the ancient past do have newspapers, right? Certainly, Miguel said, turning to glance about him. Spotting a few young lads untying a stack of the morning's fresh papers, he hurried toward them. No, that's all right, buddy, Robin said, slipping past him. I'll get it, thanks. Don't want to give you a chance to contaminate anything. Miguel shook his head, following after the American as he hurried to the newspapers. Robin opened. Okay. Robin opened one that a boy handed him and looked immediately for the day's date. I'm in the past! He shouted at the paper, frightened not only the newsboys but another gentleman who'd been innocently walking by. Thank you, Mira said swiftly to the newsboys, having given them a coin for the paper from her purse. Come along now, she said sternly to Robin, who was still staring at the paper in fright. You're causing a commotion. Robin didn't protest as she led him to an empty patch of the street. He leaned his back against a spare bit of brick wall and moaned pitifully, still clutching the newspaper in one hand. Come on, Robin, come on, boy, he muttered, half-heartedly slapping himself again. Time to wake up before the plane crashes. Oh no, he gasped in sudden horror. Maybe it's already crashed. This is hell. Please, calm down, Mira said soothingly, gently petting at his shoulder. Robin turned to her with pitiful dismay, taking her hand. But Dollface, I was so good. I brushed my teeth every day. I went to church on Sundays. I didn't go around with loose dames. I was very nice to my sisters, and I've always listened to my mother. Oh, sweetie, Mira said sadly to him.
I'm sure you're not in hell. This is a very nice world with lots of good things in it. There's even ice cream, and I'm sure that's very good indeed.
This page does not want to turn.
I'm very sure it's good indeed.
Apparently, desperate for anything to cling to, Robin nodded at this and finally started to calm. He then glanced to the others. His eyes returned to Miguel with grim determination. So you built a time machine. What are you, H.G. Wells? I don't know who that is, Miguel said. But yes, I suppose you could call it a time machine. And it's 18, Robin said, glancing to the newspaper again. 1879. And I'm not going to be born for like another 40 years. Hell, my dad was born in 1901, and this cat's never heard of Satchmo, he added with a point to Twist. Twist gave a shrug and shook his head, wondering mildly why he was being referred to as a feline. Exactly, Miguel said. And you need my pocket watch for what now? Robin asked with a frown. For my time machine, Miguel answered. It's a very important part of it. Why is my watch a very important part of your time machine? Robin asked, voicing Twist's own question exactly. That's very complicated, Miguel said with a sigh. But I need you to come with me now to Argentina. Argentina? Oh, wrong voice. Argentina? Twist balked. Sure, why not? Robin said with false and giddy joy. I'm already in. He glanced at the newspaper again and laughed. Well, I'm apparently in actual Victorian London, so yeah, let's go to South America. I wonder what time period it'll be when we get there. I'm hoping for the Middle Ages. Jonas chuckled at this, shaking his head while the rest of them listened to Robin with concern. All right, Miguel said, clearly not seeing the joke that Jonas did. Because if I take you to my time machine, I might be able to send you back home to your own time. Wait, really? Robin asked, suddenly sober. I think so, Miguel said. But I can't control my device from here. I have to return to it, and I'll need your watch to make it work. Well, hot diggity, Mr. Wells, Robin said brightly, tossing his hands in the air. Why didn't you say that in the first place? Let's go. But wait, this is Victorian London. How are we going to get there? Hot air balloon? I already have a ticket on an airship leaving this afternoon, Miguel answered. Wait, you're leaving for Argentina today? Twist asked his father. Miguel paused, looking back at him. I'm sorry, I've never imagined I would beat you today, but I thought that nothing but a watch would appear on that stoop, he added with an ungrateful glance to Robin. And yes, I'm only here in London for one day. I have to return as quickly as I can to my time travel device. You see, he added, cringing at something that seemed difficult for him to say. I've built it to snatch your mother back from death. Twist stared back at him, his mind already stiff and sore from too many strange developments. Apparently, noticing the weight of Miguel's words, even Robin fell silent as well, looking to Twist for his response, even as Mira and Jonas did. That's impossible, Twist said finally. Not even Jin magic can bring back the dead. No, Jin magic can't, Miguel said with a sad smile. Neither can the Fae, or dragons, or foxes, or any human witchcraft, or anything else I managed to try. But a deep enough understanding of the laws of the physical universe, a dark star, and the grace of God can alter time. I've been doing it for years now. A dark star? Jonas asked, sounding disturbed by the idea. You mean something that's, theoretically, so massive that not even light can escape its gravity? Isn't that called a black hole? Robin asked, frowning. A what? Jonas asked back. The dragons gave me a dark star as pavement for building their astrolabe, Miguel said. It's the most powerful source of energy in the universe, and I use it to power my time device. Wow, Jonas breathed, his eyes wide. Are you saying you have one here, on Earth? Where the hell are you keeping it? Shouldn't it have already gobbled up the planet by now? Hmm. Dragon magic has it contained, Miguel said. Is perfectly safe. They've been using captured dark stars as power sources in their own science for thousands of years. Dragons, huh? Robin turned to Mira. I'm confused.
Are you confused, Dollface? My name is Mira.
She told him.
And yes, but you and I don't have to understand. It's his time machine.
Good point, Robin said, nodding. I had intended, Miguel said to Twist, ignoring them, to show you your own watch from 67 years in the future, so that you would believe me about about the time device. I thought that then you and I might go back to my device together and finally rescue your mother from the past. So now that you know, what do you say, Tristan? Twist felt another shiver at the sound of his own name. He took a thoughtful breath, silently asking himself if he could actually believe such an outlandish story. There was, of course, one way for him to see some proof. He turned to Robin.
May I touch your watch, please?
He asked. Oh, so you're all strange, Robin replied, one eyebrow raised. Jonas nodded silently to himself.
Please, I don't need to keep it.
Twist pressed.
Only want to touch it.
Whatever, Robin said, pulling it out of his pocket again. He held it out to Twist by his chain. Twist reached out to grasp the closed watch in his fingers, gingerly. His sight responded instantly, billowing into the clockwork like a mist, lightly touching every gear and spring. Without any doubt at all in his mind, Twist knew that the watch Robin held was exactly the same as his own. Someone else had touched it, perhaps very many someones, and left their fingerprints lying thick over the brass. Less than ideal repairs had been made at some point, which he instantly wanted to fix, but the watch still ran with the same familiar tick and tock that Twist knew as well as his own heartbeat. He could even hear buried whispers of his own memory still wound around the gears. Twist pulled out his own watch and held it up next to Robin's, comparing the two. Robin now seemed to notice the similarities just as Twist did, staring at each of them in turn with wide eyes. The brass of Robin's watch was slightly discolored from age. Its engraving was ever so slightly shallower than the ones on Twist's. The white paper on the face inside was yellowed in Robin's and brighter in Twist's, but still the two watches were, undeniably, the same. Thank you, Twist said, giving Robin's watch back and putting his own away. Sure, buddy, Robin said softly, and put his watch away again. All right, Twist said, looking to his father. I can hardly believe it, but I do. That is my watch, yet it's lived a whole life without me. I simply must believe you. Twist saw the relief in his father's face, but Miguel said nothing. So, we're going to South America? Jonas asked Twist. If you don't mind, Twist said, turning to him with a weak expression. Jonas smiled back to him. You know I love tamales. And here we're going to take a chapter break. Oh, we have a message from the author, Erudite. Robin was so much fun to write for. It's great to see him again, and it seems to me like you're nailing the goofy vibe. I am doing my best. I saw that he was American, so I thought, okay, time to have some fun. And then he's Black American, like myself. So I thought, well, might as well have more fun with him as much as I can. Although I've noticed he and Jonas have similar voices. I'm trying to distinguish between the two, but they have similar voices, so bear with me here. But Robin is fun to read, I will admit. Mm. I would say my tea tonight, it is not criminally delicious. And I don't think it would enter my top three of teas. That's those three spots. Oof, English. Those three spots are pretty well spoken for. But this is still a good tea. Mm. Now you may be asking yourself, why, Taka, what tea are you drinking tonight? Is it the Fairy Queen? It is not the Fairy Queen. Is it Anansi's Web? It is not Anansi's Web. Or, yes, it's not Anansi's Web. Is it Away with Machines? No, it is not Away with Machines. How about the Clockmaker or any of the other teas that you've had on stream? No, no, this is a brand new tea. I've never tried before today. But at the very beginning of June, I did mention this, well, not this brand of tea, but this lineup of teas, and I got one of them. It came in the mail about a week or so ago, and it is called Slut for Orange. That's right, it's called literally Slut for Orange. The ingredients: black tea, orange peel, orange blossom, natural orange flavoring, and gold luster dust. That's why my tea is so shiny, because of the gold luster dust. And I really do like oranges. Oranges are perhaps some taco lore here. Oranges are perhaps some of my favorite fruit. Do love a good orange. Mm. But if you're asking yourself, why Taka? Where can I find tea like this and more? Well, I don't know if you can find this tea anymore because, well, Pride Month is over and this tea was part of Pride. But if you do want to find other tasty, delicious teas that, well, I'm pretty sure will tickle your senses, you should try out the tea shop in Seattle, Washington called Friday Afternoon. That is right. It is time for a non-sponsored sponsorship. That is definitely not a sponsorship because they do not sponsor me at all, but we will pretend that they're a sponsorship. Friday Afternoon in Seattle, Washington. If you go to their website, www.fridaytea.com, you will find a wide variety of teas that will definitely tickle your fancies. Tonight, I want to tell you about this tea called Light Heart. It is inspired by Avatar: The Last Airbender, and not the James Cameron Avatar, but who knows, maybe there is a tea inspired by that as well. This tea is part of the summer fandom rotation from June 1st until September 3rd. So, with that, I will read its description. Why let the world weigh you down? You have the power to take to the skies and let your whole self be held by them. Mind clearing lemon verbena balances nimbly atop rich red tea and persimmon in this brew. Balanced, wholesome, and not too serious. Ingredients: rooibos, persimmon, black tea, lemon peel, and lemon verbena. Again, this tea is called Light Heart, and you can find it on fridaytea.com. There is a review, 5 stars, as of August 2023. Balanced and wholesome is right. Great flavor. All the elements blend beautifully together. Uplifting but still substantial. Delicious, plain or sweetened, cold or hot. And there you have it again. You can find this on their website, but there's something else I wanted to share today. From their website again. Ooh, probably just, my nose is a little itchy, it seems. But there seems to be some non-tea items you can purchase right now. I'm looking at this one called Kitty Cat Tea Pet. Say that 5 times fast. Kitty Cat Tea Pet, Kitty Cat Tea Pet, Kitty Cat Tea Pet. Ooh, little. Kitty Cat Tea Pet, Kitty Cat Tea Pet, Kitty Cat Tea Pet. Well, that's a little difficult. I will need some practice. But Kitty Cat Tea Pet. Again, try saying it 5 times fast. I am not 100% sure what this is, but they look nice. And there's a description. Handcrafted one-of-a-kind ceramic tea pets designed and crafted by Seattle local pottery artist Queen Bee Ceramics. These kitties are steeped in feline magic, ready to cozy up your tea time. Now, I'm looking at the pictures here. I do not know if these are like little things you could put tea inside of and steep it inside your water? It may be, but there are a ton of them. There's Yeti tea pet, there's Crow tea pet, there's Pride tea pets. There's a lot of tea pets available besides the kitty cat one. And they have different versions. And they all are handmade pottery, ceramics, if you will. So if that tickles your fancy, give that a try. Again, their website is www.fridaytea.com. That is www.friday like the day and tea like the drink.com. And again, they do not pay me to do this. They do not bribe me to do this. They do not threaten me to do this. They do not blackmail me. They do not coerce me. They do not sweet talk me into talking about their teas during the reading stream. I just enjoy talking about their teas during the reading stream. And also, their teas are nice, especially on Nancy's Web. Wow, fall is not too far around the corner. I'm about to get more on Nancy's Web. Although, with my last order, I did also get the Clockmaker tea, so we now have Clockmaker tea for the Clockwork series. Erudite wrote, I think I have a tea pet. It's a little frog that you can build a patina on by pouring hot water over it. Cute little friend. Oh. I will say it is my first time seeing tea pets. I thought they were adorable. Mm. Once again, I want to thank you all for joining this reading stream, whether you're here live on Twitch or YouTube in chat or just lurking about, or if you are listening to the VOD. And again, I know that I do not stream often and sometimes not consistently, but I do appreciate the support that you give this channel in the reading stream. As some of you may know, I have taken a step back from streaming, especially streaming games. So my streaming schedule is, what's the word I'm looking for? Sparse. It is quite sparse, but I do enjoy doing the reading stream and streaming in general. So again, thank you for the support, whether that is bits, subscriptions, likes, telling friends and family, or just hanging out for a bit. Thank you for the support. I really feel as if there's something on my nose. I'm trying to cross my eyes to look at my nose. That is not very effective. Mm. With that, I believe we are ready for our next chapter. Mm. A little bit of a stretch here. Also, the idea that you can capture a black star or a black hole and contain it. Dragon magic is very powerful. I'll go with that. And with that, let's go into our next chapter. Climbing back up the airship docks to where the Icarus was moored, Twist began to feel the heavy weight of his sleepless night on his weary frame. Hopefully, he might catch some rest as soon as they left port. Reaching the airship's glass enclosed deck with the others, he saw Kima walking across the deck. She was now dressed in her usual chocolate trousers and long lavender cotton blouse, her feet bare as they often were when aboard the Icarus, with her long hair hanging straight and free down her back. The fine, bright lines of the lightning scars on her right arm and wrist and the side of her throat were visible now that she rolled up her shirt sleeves, and her throat was uncovered. She also looked rested and refreshed, Twist noticed. Seeing the others returning, she came to join them. Are you just coming now?
Are you just now coming back?
She asked Jonas. Can I have a hug, please? He asked her instead of answering. Kima smiled at him and opened her arms. Jonas took her in his arms, and she gave him a squeeze as Jonas let out a contented sigh.
What happened?
Kima asked as they pulled away from each other. Jonas began to reply, but then paused. It's a very long story, actually. Short version is that we ran into Twist's long lost father, picked up a bloke from the future, and now we're going to Argentina as soon as we resupply. Kima's astonishment grew with each point. She looked to Twist and the others, her eyes sticking on Miguel and Robin both suspiciously. Twist was nearly able to see her thoughts fall into order behind her eyes. After a very short pause, she nodded and looked back to Jonas.
You look exhausted. Go have a rest while I get the supplies.
That's it? Jonas asked back, smiling at her in amazement. No shock, no confusion, no questions. You're completely fine with everything I just said. Kima shrugged.
My son was raised by fairies, and I used to live on a cloud. This kind of thing happens to us.
Jonas laughed, still marveling at her. You're wonderful. Kima shook her head dismissively, a soft smile on her face.
How far away is Argentina? I mean, how long of a journey will it be?
From here? Jonas began. Maybe 2 days at top speed? Let's count on 3 just in case.
2 days?
Miguel gasped. Yeah, why so long? Robin added. Miguel looked to him, highly unnerved. Kima gave them a mild frown and then turned back to Jonas.
3 days. All right, go rest. I'll wake you when we're ready to leave,
she added, already heading to the cabins to grab shoes and a jacket, Twist guessed. Love, you're the best, and Jonas called after her. Kima shot him a smirk over her shoulder. Twist smiled too, seeing that she was becoming more comfortable with Jonas's frequent compliments. Jonas looked much more at ease when he turned back to Twist and said, Well, you're the lady. I'm going to catch myself an hour or two of rest. How about you?
Yes, please,
Twist said, nodding.
I think I'll help Kima resupply,
Mira said.
I don't need that much sleep anyway. Well, if you're sure, dear,
Twist said to her. Mira nodded, looking quite all right indeed.
Stay close to Kima in the city, please,
Twist said gently.
I will,
Mira said, leaning closer to place a kiss on his cheek.
Come along,
Twist said to his father and Robin.
I'll show you the kitchen. There's some food and tea still left in our current supply. You can help yourselves.
Miguel and Robin followed Twist and Jonas off to the airship, but Jonas vanished into his own cabin while Twist led the others to the kitchen. Kima stood in the kitchen, speaking to her son, who sat at the table when they entered.
Can I have sweet things?
Pamut was asking Kima, his face full of hope.
We'll see what we can find,
Kima said, patting at his shoulder. Seeing Twist and the others enter the room, Kima turned to them.
Oh, would you like me to pick up anything special, Twist? No, thank you,
Twist replied.
I've had my fill of treats last night.
Kima nodded and headed for the door.
We'll be back soon,
she said as she went, taking Pamut along by the hand.
Goodbye, Twist,
Pamut offered before they were gone. Twist waved. Does that dame ever stay still? Robin once asked once she was gone. Twist looked to him in mild confusion but shook it off and decided not to answer.
Help yourselves to anything you like,
Twist said, gesturing to the cupboards.
There's always tea and biscuits at the very least. Mira makes sure of it.
Twist's father and Robin thanked him for the hospitality and said goodbye when he excused himself. Twist stepped quickly up the stairs to his own cabin, leaving them behind. Shutting the door behind himself, Twist closed his eyes and listened to the silence of the room for a long moment. Except for the faint murmur of indistinct voices from below, he heard nothing but the soft tapping of rain on the windows in the far wall of the room. When his mind began to chase after the incredible thoughts that had been crammed into it throughout the morning, he shook his head to clear it. Jonas had told him how he sometimes would meditate instead of sleeping, finding the exercise more relaxing than the fitful sleep. Twist had never had reason to try it until now, but this was as good a time as any. He only had a short amount of time, after all. Jonas had said that he could either sit up straight with his legs crossed or lie flat on his back. Since sitting up sounded like a tremendous chore, Twist opted for the latter. Twist headed to his bed, which stood in the middle of the room against the long wall facing the windows, and laid himself down on his back, closing his eyes. Remembering Jonas's instructions, Twist told himself silently that no one was speaking to him in this moment. He didn't need to pay attention to, make sense of, nor respond to anyone at all. Once this thought was in place, he tried to feel the weight of his own body sinking into the bed. He then turned his attention to his breath, slowly counting the seconds of each inhale and exhale. Every time a stray thought of his father, time travel, or anything else popped into his mind, he turned his focus to the soothing and comfortable feeling of his own weight sinking into the soft covers of his bed, and then went back to counting the seconds it took him to comfortably breathe. Soon, as Jonas had told him it would, this became too easy, and his thoughts seemed to wander more and more, like a hyperactive cat that simply didn't want to be held. So, following the next step, Twist tried to make his breath come slower and slower, trying to fit more seconds into each one. Before he knew it, this too became easy, but he also began to feel his body relax deeply, as if on his own. This time, however, the luscious comfort of the bed beneath him, the soft sound of the rain on the window, and the stillness of his own mind held his wayward thoughts well enough at bay. Perhaps he might try the other things Jonas had told him of another time. For the moment, he didn't want to change a single thing. Here we're going to take another chapter break. I do not know what is going on. A question for the audience. And you don't have to answer, but just a way to explain what's going on right now with me. Have you ever had a tickling sensation on your nose, or you know there is nothing on there, but it feels as if there's something on there, and it continues to tickle your nose? That is what I'm experiencing at the moment. I would like for it to stop, but I'm not sure how to make it stop. Hmm. Hmm. We're going to drink a little bit more tea before we go back to our story. I can tell it's already been an hour. I can feel it in my feet. For those who do not know, during the duration of the reading stream, I do stand up to read and speak into the microphone. And I believe someone asked me this before on the reading stream, why do I do that? And the answer is just so that I'm more likely to straighten myself up. So I'm not going to be hunched over or leaning over as I deliver lines or whatnot. Just opens up that channel from the diaphragm to the throat and, well, out onto the microphone. One moment. Mm. But yes, I know it's definitely been an hour because my feet are telling me. But with that, we are going to go into our next chapter. Twist awoke into silence, only vaguely aware, thanks to the soft buzzing sensation in his own neck, that Jonas was nearby. He opened his eyes into the dim light under the soggy London sky and found Jonas sitting beside him on the bed. Twist moved to get up but was surprised to find the task very difficult, as his body felt heavy and sluggish. Take it easy, Jonas said. There's no need to rush.
What time is it?
Twist asked, pausing a moment before trying to sit up again. Nearly 10, Jonas answered. We were refueled, the kitchen's full, and Robin and Pamut are rather hitting it off.
I didn't mean to fall asleep,
Twist muttered, finally managed to get himself upright.
I should go tend to the engines.
No, it's all right, Jonas said, putting a hand on his shoulder to keep him from sitting. You see, your dad was worried about getting back to Argentina by the end of the month, but he was going to take a normal airship which would have taken more than a week's time to make the trip. On this ship, there's no hurry at all. We'll be there days ahead of time, even if we don't leave right away.
Right,
Twist said, closing his eyes as a wave of exhaustion washed over him.
My dad?
Are you all right? Jonas asked on a sigh.
In your place, I don't think I would be.
Twist smiled to him.
Why shouldn't I be? My father's no longer missing nor dead, and apparently he built a time machine in South America.
Yes, because of all of that, Jonas said with a nod. Don't forget, Twist, I can feel everything you're going through, he added, rubbing at his own neck. You can't fool me, and you just waste time when you try. Twist sighed, looking away from him. Of course, he was right. Twist had learned that speaking the truth sometimes made him feel better. With no reason left to refuse, Twist gave it a try.
I just don't even know what to think. I was furious with both of my parents for years before I finally decided that they either never cared at all, or are long dead and none of it mattered anyway. And now here he is, beside himself with grief at the sight of me.
Jonas nodded, seeming content to simply listen. Encouraged, Twist went on.
I grew up without a home, without a family. I don't even know what it's like to be a normal, happy child. I don't think I ever met anyone who does, actually. As far as I know, those sorts of lies only happen in books. But even when I was a boy, I knew that I was missing out on something, and it's my parents' fault that I did. But now I can see how upset he is, and I didn't have to tell him any of that. I realize now that I never once considered what his life was like.
Twist ran out of words to say. Jonas took a thoughtful breath. I had my family for a few years, even if I don't remember a lot of it now. I was too young, but your father was older. He only had his family for a couple of days and probably remembers every minute. It puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Twist looked at Jonas, suddenly remembering that he truly did understand Twist's childhood pains. Even though their experiences had been different, they had both reacted to them in much the same way. Still, Jonas said, if my dad popped up suddenly, I wouldn't know what to say to the man either. So far, I think you're doing a great job. You've actually had a couple conversations, he added, patting Twist on the back. Twist smiled, feeling in the touch of the. Oh, okay, I see. Twist smiled, feeling the grounding weight of Jonas's sight against his own. Take your time, I guess, Jonas offered. You both have to get used to having each other around. Maybe just talk with him about Clockwork. Twist chuckled.
I'm not sure I know enough to do that. If he built that astrolabe, he's a bloody genius. His skills are above mine.
Nonsense, Jonas said with a frown. No one in the world knows more about Clockwork than you, not to mention machines in general. Or have you forgotten that no one else could get this airship to even fly? How long did it take you to figure it out? 5 minutes? Twist gave up trying to contain his grin.
Jonas, if you don't stop being sweet to me, you'll make me blush.
Right, Jonas said before clearing his throat and putting on a false sneer. Ah, but you not but a stuffy dandy anyway, he grumbled in a chronically gruff voice. Why, if you were my son, hell, if you were my son, I'd be disturbed not only by your age, but your sheer lurk of bold piratical scallywaggery.
I don't think that's a word,
Twist mentioned, fighting his own laughter. It is if I say so, Jonas declared. Don't talk back to your pa.
You're very odd.
Jonas tossed one arm up to rest it across Twist's shoulders, while a bright, soothing, sparkling white fog seeped into the edges of Twist's mind through his sight. He smiled at Twist with blue eyes and a roguish grin that didn't look at all forced now. You like me because I'm odd, Jonas declared with perfect confidence. You're odd too. Twist laughed, finding no reason to correct him.
All right,
Twist said, standing up and stepping out of Jonas's grasp.
I feel much better now. You can stop being nice.
Thank the heavens, Jonas said with a great sigh, standing as well. Now get back to work and fire up those engines, you lazy lout.
Aye, Captain,
Twist replied with a nod and a grin. Jonas followed Twist out of his cabin and out onto the deck. Twist was surprised, however, to spot Mira and Kima both standing outside on the wrought iron pier that the airship floated beside. The two women looked to be in deep concentration, staring at the airship near the bow. Oh, the painters must have arrived, Jonas said with sudden excitement, hurrying to the gangway that led off the ship. Twist followed after him, and they both came quickly to meet Mira and Kima. Once Twist stepped off the ship, he finally saw the two men who stood on a hastily constructed and slightly raised platform right beside the pale wood of the airship. The painters had already erased the ship's old name from the side with white paint and were now carefully spelling out the word Icarus across the same space, just beside the edge of the bridge windows, and a decorative script in bold black paint. Twist watched the name appear on his ship with a sense of deep satisfaction that he had not expected at all. But with the new name, their ship seemed to instantly take a whole new life. She truly belonged to them now. They named her. Mira moved closer to Twist, wrapping an arm around his back and spilling pride into his sight. Well, she's ours now, Jonas said, casually reaching out to lay an arm across Kima's shoulders.
Isn't Icarus a boy's name?
Kima asked. No, ships are ladies, whatever they're called, Jonas answered, shaking his head.
Why is that, anyway?
Kima asked.
I've been meaning to ask.
I don't really know, Jonas answered, looking startled. I've never questioned it. Twist, do you know why?
I assume it has something to do with the first sailors being mostly men and missing their wives and mothers,
Twist answered with a shrug.
But I don't really know.
It's because of the Latin, one of the painters called to them. The Latin word for ship is female. No, it's the figureheads, the other painter countered. Someone started carving them to look like women and it became tradition. Yes, because the Latin word, the first painter began. Oh, everything's always the Latin with you, the other painter scoffed. Latin is the foundation of English, the first painter grumbled. Everything does go back to the Latin. The other painter gave a noisy sigh and turned his attention back to the lettering. Mira, watching the silly interchange, giggled softly to herself, while twisting the others tried not to follow suit. In no time at all, however, the painters finished their work and began to pack up their tools and dismantle their rickety platform. Mira paid them for their service, while Twist took one more moment to admire the look of his ship. Then it was time to finally set off. Mira double-checked that everything was on board and then mentioned something about refreshments and vanished into the kitchen. Twist and Jonas headed to the bridge, while Kima saw to unmooring the ship, and then went down to the balloon pressure controls in the belly of the ship. As Twist waited for the engines to heat up, he took a moment to let his sight dance through the now familiar machines of his ship. When he found that all was well, the fuel was full, and the engines were eager to run, he slowly brought her up to speed, while Jonas piloted her up and out of the dreary London gloom. We're taking a quick look here. Okay. I believe we have time for one more chapter. as I take another sip of my tea. Mm. Once again, I do want to thank you all for joining this reading stream tonight, or whatever time it may be for you. I hope that you are enjoying the story as well as the reading of this story. One final stretch here. Okay. I can feel myself getting a little hungry here. But we can hold out for one last chapter. So, with that, let us go into that final chapter for the evening. The Icarus broke through the clouds over London, its wings outstretched and its powerful engines singing as the speed rose. The airship's white, bird shaped body shone in the sunlight, its glass back still glistening with rain. Twist was happy that the engines were so pleased to be pushed to their limits. Jonas turned the ship about, still climbing high above the clouds, and pointed the beak of the ship at South America. With their stores full of both food and fuel, there would be no need to stop anywhere along the way. Having made sure that all was as it should be with the engines, Twist left the throttle set to its maximum. Jonas locked the ship's autopilot in the right direction and left the bridge with Twist to check on the refreshments that Mira had mentioned. Out on the deck, he found that Mira had just brought out a tray placed on a new small portable table that held a glass pitcher of something bright and yellow. Pamut was standing near her, happily sipping at a glass of it. Robin pressed himself up against the glass above one wing, clearly trying to peer down at the engine that was nestled under the white canvas and wooden wing, while Miguel was accepting a glass from Mira. Yes, thank you, Miguel said to Mira as Twist and Jonas approached. It's much larger than the cabin I had on my way to London, and more comfortable too. I'm glad you had two cabins free for us, he added with a glance to Robin. Well, we had another crew member, but he decided to leave for a while, Mira answered, pouring another glass. Miguel turned to Twist when he saw him. Hello, son, he said, his tone bright but still rather stiff. This is a wonderful airship you have. How fast are we flying? A bit over 200 knots, Twist answered, joining them with Jonas. Somehow being called son felt like biting on tin, but he did his best not to let it show. Would you like some lemonade, dear? Vera asked Twist, offering him a glass as well. Oh, how nice, Twist answered, taking it. The glass was cold to the touch, and he spotted small chunks of ice floating in the pitcher. This is good, Pamut said to Jonas, clutching a half-empty glass of his own. It's really sweet, and Mira said it's a fruit too. That sounds good, Jonas replied, smiling at the boy. Would you like some? Mira asked Jonas, already filling another glass. Sure, thank you, Jonas replied. So, Pamut, have you picked a favorite fruit yet? While Pamut thought about this seriously, and he, Jonas, and Mira all began to debate the flavors of various sweet juices and drinks, Twist's attention was pulled away by the awkward smile on his father's face. The man was looking at him as if he wanted to say something entirely unrelated to fruit. Twist tried not to panic and sipped nonchalantly at his lemonade. The bright, fresh, not too sweet flavor of it proved to be a lovely distraction. So, Miguel said finally, while the others failed to notice, you don't just work on clocks then? You're an engineer as well? Twist shrugged. Engines and other machines are very easy for me to work with. Even locks are a little trouble to pick if the need should arise. And that's because of your sight? His father asked casually. Twist paused, unsure how to answer. Judging by the easy tone in his father's voice, Twist suspected that the man didn't fully understand the true nature of his sight. The idea of explaining it to him in front of the others, even if they already knew, struck him as very uncomfortable. They didn't even seem to be listening, as Mira and Jonas both enjoyed Pamuk's delight at talking about lovely treats. Why spoil their fun? Twist silently ushered his father to one side with a wave of his hand and stopped to lean against a low wooden rail in curving glass at the edge of the deck. His father seemed surprised by this action but followed nonetheless. Twist's arms crossed as if on their own, his glass clutched in his fingers. He felt his body tense in anticipation of the coming conversation, and he tried to calm himself. His father watched him with obvious concern but said nothing. Twist applied his will and forced the words out.
Do you know what my sight does?
Well, his father said, frowning in thought.
I know that you often cried when we touched you.
He said gently.
Mama said that was something was wrong with your sight, and we assumed that must be the reason. So your mother.
He fell silent, a flash of pain flitting through his eyes as he looked earnestly to Twist.
Think whatever you will about me, but you must believe that she was trying to help you.
Twist nodded, glancing away from him. It hadn't taken but a single question for this conversation to already turn uncomfortable for the both of them. He had the focus to keep himself in place and continue.
Yes, I know. She told the fairies all about me, hoping to fix the problem.
Oh, that is the wrong person. One moment, let's see who is saying this. Okay, I know who say this. I have the right voice. We're going to start this paragraph over again. Twist nodded, glancing away from him. It hadn't taken but a single question for this conversation to already turn uncomfortable for the both of them. He had to focus to keep himself in place and continue.
Yes, I know. She told the fairies all about me, hoping to fix the problem, but she never thought they'd attack. I don't blame my mother for that.
Miguel looked deeply relieved to hear this.
Yes, exactly. But other than that, I really have no idea what your sight actually does. Mira said something about it helping you with clockwork. But do you know why you might have cried when we touched you as a baby? Yes, I can imagine,
Twist muttered, unsure how to say it delicately. His father must have worried when his baby was distressed by his touch. He already knew that something was wrong, but how could Twist tell him the truth of it without it sounding awful? His sight made him desperately weak. Twist had spent an enormous amount of energy to keep himself safe, but in the end, it had been the luck of finding Mira and Jonas that had saved him. He took another sip of his lemonade to buy himself more time. His father waited, clearly distressed when Twist didn't elaborate right away.
Son, please tell me,
Miguel said after a pause.
whatever it is. I need to know.
Twist's gaze snapped up to meet his father's. Plenty of people wanted to know the trouble with his sight. Plenty were curious, and plenty had asked. But for as far back as he could remember, only Mira and Jonas had ever truly needed to know. Without being asked, they had both taken on the burden of it and spent their own energy to help Twist live with it. That was the only reason anyone would ever need to know about it. Could his father mean to do the same? Why else would he need to know anything?
I see damage.
Twist said finally, deciding it safe enough to be honest.
When I touch a broken clock, I see exactly what's wrong with it, like a vision in my mind. If it's not broken, I can usually figure out how it works, and very easily as well.
His father nodded, taking in this information, but obviously knowing that there was more to be said. Twist forced himself to look back at the man.
It works on people too. I don't mean that I can see diseases or injuries. When I touch people, I see how they are broken. I see whatever is the greatest traumatic experience in their past, and I feel as if it were happening to me.
Alarm and dismay bloomed in Miguel's face, making Twist look away. He focused on holding down a sudden wave of uncomfortable panic.
Can you control this reaction at all?
His father asked. Twist shook his head, kept his gaze on the deck. His pride writhed under the weight of his father's attention. He couldn't remember feeling this much like a child in years.
But how do you live with something like that?
His father asked, not making Twist feel any older.
I don't touch people if I can help it,
Twist muttered with a shrug.
It wasn't a problem when I lived alone,
He added, hoping to inject some lightness into this conversation.
I just stayed in my shop and never went out, and I didn't have to deal with other people much at all.
Miguel ran a hand over his face, looking even more distressed as he stared off to one side.
How long did you live like that? Not that long, really.
Twist lied.
Once I met Jonas and Mira, all of that changed.
His father looked back at him with hope.
My sight doesn't work on them, or doesn't work on either of them. I could use it to mend Mira's clockwork puppet, but all I usually get other than that is a general feel for her emotions. Most of the time, it's rather pleasant. And Jonas is no trouble for me either. Our sights don't work on each other the way they do on other people. His touch is actually soothing to me. I've never seen any personal damage in either one of them, and I'm sure I never will.
To Twist's relief, his father seemed to be pleased to hear this.
They are the only two people in the world you can touch?
He asked softly. Twist nodded.
As far as I know, yes.
And that's why you cried.
That's why you pulled away when I reached out to you. If I touch you, you'd be forced to share my pain.
Miguel shook his head with a sigh.
I wouldn't wish my troubles on anyone, least of all you, Tristan.
Unsure what to say, Twist listened to him and then nodded. For a fleeting moment, Twist found himself trying to imagine what it might be like to let the man wrap his arms around him, the way he'd seen Jonas and Kima comfort Pamut. Twist banished the thought forcefully. No matter what he might feel like right now, he was no longer a child, and it was impossible anyway.
Thank you for explaining, son,
Miguel said after a moment, looking at Twist with a warmth that felt at once alien and so deeply familiar.
I'm so sorry.
Twist's heart clenched tight, nearly making him gasp. The angry little boy that had still lived in his soul vanished with a neat pop, leaving nothing but an echo behind. Unable to fathom how else to respond, Twist simply muttered,
Thank you.
That was the end of the chapter. And with that, we are coming to the end of the reading stream. Before we end this reading stream, though, there was something on my mind from the previous chapter that has come up before in my mind, and I haven't mentioned it before. So, if you do not know this part, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but this happens in books far before this one. Twist, Jonas, and Mira met Kima in her village on the cloud books ago with her quote unquote son, Pamut. This version of Pamut was actually a satyr. Well, again, a little bit of spoiler here. But while Pamut was spirited away, if you will. So, when Jonas first met Pamut, the pink-eyed one, I'll say the pink-eyed Pamut versus the real one, or when he met the imposter. When he met the imposter, Jonas never took a liking to that Pamut. Never ever. I cannot think of a moment where Jonas was actually kind or genuinely kind and warm hearted to that Pamut. But this Pamut, the real one, reunited with Kima, maybe once or twice Jonas may have snapped at him, but Jonas has been far kinder to this Pamut than the other one. I personally thought that was very interesting. I wondered if maybe on some instinctual level, Jonas knew that the other Pamut was wrong or not right. I am not certain because we know that Jonas, well, it's established that Jonas can see the future of people if he sees their eyes. And this is why he avoids looking at their eyes. So I wonder if he had a vision where he knew that he was going to see the real Pamut without pink eyes. It is fan theory. I do not know for certain. And also, another thing I would like to point out, Jonas is very, very, very enamored with Kima. I thought it would be Jonas's Sky, but it turns out I may be wrong. I may be wrong. I wonder what happened to Sky. But these are questions for another time. Everyone, thank you for joining this reading stream. I hope that you enjoyed the reading as well as the story as well as the reading of the story. And again, I do appreciate all the support that you give my Twitch and YouTube channels. In theory, we will have another reading stream next Sunday, assuming all goes well in life. And we actually have a message from the author. Always thought that the satyr was super fake and Jonas fakes himself and recognize it. Ah, there's a there's that saying, game knows game. In that case, fakers know fakers. Which I suppose that is also true. But the satyr was super fake and Jonas fakes himself. I like that. Now, granted, I also like my theory that maybe Jonas saw a version of Pamut without the pink eyes. But you know what? I am not the author of this series. So I am going to take the author's word on this one here. But all theories are fun. I I personally like this theory, but nothing in the book said that Jonas saw a version of Pamut without pink eyes. That is pure fan theory speculation there. But the satyr was fake and Jonas just recognized it. I I accept that. I accept that. Lady Robsy issues a boo, but that is okay. Hello, Robsy. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. As we're coming to the end of the reading stream. Hmm. Speaking of which, it is time for me to end the reading stream. I am looking forward to sitting down because my feet hurt. Again, not next Saturday. We don't do reading streams on Saturdays anymore. We now do them on Sundays. Robsy, you just woke up. Isn't it like 2:30 your time, Robsy? In the morning? Hmm. Either way, Robsy, I hope that, well, I don't know if you're starting your day or not. If you're not starting your day, you should get some more sleep. Ah, it's 3:34. I had my time difference wrong. Okay. But if you're waking up to start the day, I do hope that you have a good day. If you're not waking up to start the day, I still hope that you have a good day. And for everyone else out there, once again, thank you for joining this reading stream. I hope that you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and with that, well, be safe out there, and I will see you next time. Until then, Take care, and bye bye.